Hey guys, back again with some Modern on Budget. This is Mills from MTG, and today we're going to be talking about a really simple deck. And we are running some rat colonies, so we're going to dive right in. So right here we have rat colony, which is a 2-drop that's a 2/1, very vulnerable. Already know that. Don't say that in the comment section. I already know. This is the kind of deck that you play if you're very passionate about this kind of a deck. This is not the kind of deck that you play just because you want to go to Modern with a very good deck. This is if you're very passionate about this card. I was that person while it was in Standard. There are a lot of ways that people can potentially kill your rats. They're 1 toughness and don't change, but honestly, roll with it. So, it's a 2/1 that says it gets +1/+0 for each other rat you control. So it never gets past 1 toughness. Don't worry about that. Actually, probably should worry about that, but we're moving on. So it's going to progressively get more and more powerful, and it staying at 1 toughness is actually going to be very powerful for us. And it also has this little fun part of it that says a deck can have any number of rat colonies. So we're running 24. Yeah, 24. So I'm going to say right now, your opening hand has to be astronomically terrible if you're not going to keep it. If you hate mulliganing, this might be the deck for you. Next up is a very, very fun card with the deck, Tetsuko Umazawa Fugitive. It came out in the same set, and it is a very nice card. Creatures you control with power or toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. Our rat colonies never get past 1 toughness, so they're going to be unblockable. So Tetsuko will make every single one of our rat colonies unblockable. Tetsuko is also a 1/3, so Tetsuko is unblockable and also dies to lightning bolt, but doesn't really die to lava dart, doesn't die to anything. That it has to deal 3 damage, which is very nice. And it's not super killable, but it's still killable. I'm not going into this saying that you're going to have a perfect game, perfect record, but it is a fun deck to play. Next up is Mishra's Bauble, which you might be like, why don't you just run more rat colonies? Well, this actually has a combo with our companion, which we just happen to be running. Lurrus of the Dream Dead requires your entire deck to be mana cost 2 or less, and you can play permanents 2 or less from your graveyard, 1 per turn. And so if you get that rat colony, or maybe you trade early on and you really want to just get it back later, Lurrus will supply you with the ability to play your rat colonies from your graveyard later on. But you can play rat colony from your graveyard later. Maybe they make you discard, or maybe they destroy Tetsuko, or maybe there was a negative trade. Tetsuko can always be replayed with Lurrus. But Mishra's Bauble is a way for us to play play a card, look at our opponent's deck, maybe even look at our own deck and shuffle the top card away with Evolving Wilds. But it's a way for us to get an extra card each turn. And though I could just put rat colonies in here, I decided that the better use of these 4 spots in the deck would be to synergize with Lurrus, because if you don't have rat colonies in your graveyard, or maybe you have rat colonies in your hand, what you can do is you can play a rat colony from your hand and 0 mana play Bauble from your graveyard and get a free draw, see what your opponent's drawing, see what you need to do. Next up is, this is an interesting take on a rat colony deck, and probably the fewest rat colonies I've run in a rat colony deck. And it's because Smuggler's Copter is also a very good card. This way you can have something on the board, you can filter through your deck, maybe you keep hitting lands, but you can filter through your deck. but also if you're in a stalemate because you don't really want to block or trade or do anything with your rat colonies because you just want them to build up, then Smuggler's Copter is going to be very nice for you because you can just tap your rat colony. You can even tap Tetsuko to get a 3/3 that is very nice for attacking in the air or even blocking. So this is going to be a way for you to interact with your opponent while not having to really leave your rat synergy. It's also, you're not just running something completely different. You're running something that you can tap to get in free damage. That's it for the main deck. It's very nice. The only creature that can't, well, Smuggler's Copter is essentially unblockable, and Lurrus you're really probably not attacking with unless you have, unless you're going against an empty board. Next up is our lands. You'll notice we're only running 3 pathways. It's because in order to run the baubles, I had to give something up. And so I took out the 4th pathway and tossed in an island. And now that one island is not going to mess us up. Now, if we have like an Evolving Wilds and an island, boohoo, there are sweet spots in this deck, which I will tell you when you can play these tap lands. But we have Pathway, Clearwater Pathway, as a way to have untapped lands that can also just be whatever color we want. We only ever need 1 blue mana, so the moment we have the blue mana, these can be black lands for the rest of the game. Evolving Wilds as a way to search out that one island, filter our deck, or if you wanted Bloodchief's Thirst to be Fatal Push, it would synergize with Revolt. I did not have the budget for a Fatal Push, but Evolving Wilds can do a lot of different things with this deck, and I really like it. But some people are like, but it enters tapped. But there are turns you can use these, and I'll explain it in a moment. Sunken Hollow enters tapped unless you control 2 or fewer basic lands. We're running a lot of basic lands. We're running 13. Then we have 12 Swamps. Now, I said there's a sweet spot to play your tapped lands, and that's going to be Evolving Wilds or sometimes Sunken Hollow. And the times to do that, you're going to want to do that when you are on turn 1, on turn 3, even on turn on turn 1, 3, 5, like any of those turns that are odd, then you can easily have that enter tapped, because if you're turn 1, you can play no Evolving Wilds because you don't have a turn 1 play. If you're turn 2, you have a turn 2 play. If you're because you're playing Tetsuko or Rat Colony, and honestly, between those, I would suggest playing Rat Colonies first just to get them onto the board, and then Tetsuko later to kind of like surprise your opponent. But also you have turn 3, where if you play a tapped land, you still have 2 mana available for your Rat Colony, and then turn 4, you're going to be able to play Rat Colony, assuming you're on curve. And so on turn 1 and 3, those are your sweet spots for playing tapped lands. So I really don't mind having tapped lands in the deck. All of our cards are even mana cost. So on turn 1 and 3, we can easily play them. You can upgrade these to like Watery Graves or the Fast Land, Darkslick Shores, or get a 4th of these. It's up to you, but I had no problem with this deck at all, and playtesting it, my opponents were laughing with me. Sideboard is Tormod's Crypt as a cheaper way of dealing with our opponent's graveyard without dealing with our own, without killing our own. Bloodchief's Thirst as removal. Usually you can swap out Smuggler's Copter for these, because that's going to be probably not something we want to have in that kind of a matchup. Maybe though you're going against a creature deck and you need to have those Copters, then maybe bring out Baubles. Like Lurrus is a really good card, but maybe you need to bring out Bauble. In a creature matchup, you're also going to be going up against a lot of creatures, so Tetsuko is important. And also, don't be afraid to lower the number of Rat Colonies in your deck. I do not recommend going underneath 20, though. 20 is exactly Like 20 is the bare minimum of rat colonies you need to have in your deck at the beginning of the game. Next up is Damping Sphere. This is something that you can bring in as a way to limit what your opponent's trying to do. It's anti-storm, anti-burn, anti-combo. Burn is a very, very hard matchup for us. I tried to think of ways for us to deal with burn, but really it's one of those things where we have to accept the match loss. When we're playing a deck where all the creatures have like toughness, like one of them has toughness 3 and then the rest have toughness 1, we're going to have a poor matchup. And then we have 4 mana leaks as an extra way of dealing with our opponent's stuff. We have ways to get that blue mana. So the mana leaks are going to be there. If our opponent's playing a control deck or anything like that, we bring in the mana leaks, take out the Tetsuko Umazawas, and that's just a way to deal with that. We can also use this for combo decks to counter their big threat, and quite often Tetsuko won't be relevant in that kind of matchup anyway, so we make that change anyway. But it's $99. It's a little closer to the budget than I would have preferred, but I don't expect that these cards are really going to go up or down in price. The only one that might is like Pathway. It's really the only one that might. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the deck. If you did, please let me know by hitting that like button. If you want to see more content like this, if you have a ridiculous rat idea or anything else, please let me know. And if you want to see more content, please hit that subscribe, show your support, and I will see you next time.